Bow with me. Please, Lord, be with us. Thank you for the day, the opportunity to come together again. May all that guide our thoughts and our words and our actions be to the betterment of this district. Bring glory to you and be pleasing to you. And in Jesus' name we pray, amen. Amen. Turn toward the American flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Appreciate all our guests being here. I didn't see that anybody signed up to speak. Is that correct? All right, easy enough. So we will start with our our information items. Over here.
Okay, just want to remind everyone that Honor America Night is November the 7th, so please try to attend that. It's always a special event as we honor our country and our men and women that serve for our country. So they will be serving hot dogs and drinks and stuff at the concession stand prior to the program beginning, and of course at the end of the program will be the fireworks show that everybody loves to see. Donations can be made towards the fireworks show if you would like to. Next thing on there is payable. I don't know if anyone has any questions, comments, or anything regarding that. The information was sent to you there.
I have a question. The $4,000 for the speaker, do we normally spend that much on a convocation?
If you're going to get one, it's going to be that. What we'll try to do is every other year.
Okay.
And
I didn't think I'd ever seen one that expensive before.
we've gone before where there was one that was in the $6,000 to $8,000 range, but we went in with two other districts to do that. But that's
Just curious,
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah, that's the norm. But
Are you
that's
offering your services? You want to come do it?
now that's one that we will not do every year because of that. Okay, if that's all, we'll move to C, and that's the health inspection. I just wanted to make you all aware that we had a health inspection from the Texas Department of State Health Services on our cafeterias. And Sonny's here, so I want to brag on her and her staff. Not only did they get an outstanding rating, but there were no violations found, period, in either food service line cafeteria. So we appreciate the job y'all do, because that's not easy to go through there and not finding any violations.
There's lots of for-profit restaurants around here that can get that accomplished. So.
That's true. So make sure that you let your staff know that too, Sonny. So we do appreciate all the work that they put into that. And I know Court, we have a new cafeteria manager at the elementary, and I know she was quite nervous about it, but it worked out well for her, so I know she's thrilled too. Okay, anything, as far as information items, that's all I had, unless anybody else wants to bring anything up that we've not looked at as far as what's going on in the district.
None of the principals had any reports?
Y'all have anything y'all want to brag about as far as that we probably don't know?
Maybe in 6 weeks.
First 6 weeks ago.
Yes.
Well, and one thing I know Mr. Reeves can talk about is the first 6 weeks failure rate / honor roll rate.
Yeah, we this year our first 6 weeks we had 218 students on our honor roll for the first 6 weeks. That's 64% of our kids on the honor roll. And to top that off, there's only 4% on the failure list. So the shortest one, even Miss Dudley, who's been here forever, said that's the shortest one she's ever seen. So,
Yeah,
That is-
4% of 300 kids, we're talking about a dozen, 15 kids, that's
13.
13, yeah.
That's outstanding. Very good, very good.
All right, so we will move to consent items, and unless there's anything that somebody wants to pull, we will do those as a group. Can I get a motion to approve the consent items? Paul, get a second? Patty, any discussion? All in favor? Any discussion items?
Okay, the packet that I put at your place, or I handed to you earlier, is what we're going to be looking at. And basically, on discussion items, it's just superintendent's report regarding the goals that were established earlier, and we'll do this quarterly. We'll do a report this month, we'll also do one in January. So we're basically keeping up with the progress of our goals and where we are. So there is a lot of information in here, and I would like, as I said in my note to you in the packet, I would like some feedback from you afterwards on how you want this. If you want less detail or more detail, we could go either way with it. But first of all, talking about vertical alignment in grades K through 12. If you look at the first page, there are dates. That first page is regarding the high school, and there are dates established in there. The vertical alignment or discussions began in June, and again in August they met, and that was at some of our in-service training prior to the year starting. And that's just making sure that our teachers are aligned with the students or the curriculum that's being taught from students that they are receiving and students that they are passing on to the next grade. So that's the high school dates. They've had 5 days of that vertical alignment, and then also scheduled is November 9th, February 15th, and May 25th, more vertical alignment. One thing that is a need, not just vertical alignment that we felt, of course, is just focusing on the specifics of the TEKS and the skills that each TEK is asking the kids to know. So we spent some time on that also early this year. The next page is the middle school and their department meetings regarding the vertical alignment. Again, they began before school started, and throughout the year there are scheduled meetings that this will continue to occur throughout the school year, so that the teachers will make sure that they're teaching everything that the kids need to know and following the TEKS throughout their curriculum. The next page, of course, is elementary vertical alignment, and theirs is a little different simply because of their setup down there, but with the elementary kiddos. But again, started in the summer, worked throughout the in-service at the beginning of the school year, and then the future meetings you see planned throughout the school year to accomplish what we're looking for. Then the next page, that's talking about what we have here are meetings scheduled for 5th graders going to 6th grade. To make sure those teachers have time, the 5th grade teachers have time to get with the 6th grade teachers since they're not on the same campus. And then the 8th grade teachers getting with the 9th grade teachers to do the same thing, because it's a little more difficult in the vertical alignment across campuses. So those dates are scheduled specifically for them on those 3 dates, November 14th, February 20th, and May 1st on the vertical alignment there. And then that last page in that area is just notes for them to keep and things that they consider when they're having the meetings, and know what they've already discussed for the next meeting so they won't duplicate. And that looks at area 1, where we're talking about the vertical alignment. Number 2, improving the utilization of technology in the classroom with staff, with district community communications. So, this part of it is going to, this update is going to deal mostly with what's going on with our technology as far as devices and as far as what's going on in the classroom. On that first page, I've just given you an overview of the Chromebooks that are in the district as of right now. And if you'll go through there and look, you can see that we're in extremely good shape when it comes to putting these devices in the hands of students. This year with our title money, we have already ordered and received the 14 more Chromebook carts with our Title I money, and those carts consist roughly of 25 Chromebooks in each cart. But 4 for elementary, 5 for middle school, and 5 for high school. So our elementary school, in the 5th grade, there's a Chromebook cart for every single classroom in the 5th grade, every single classroom in the 4th grade and 3rd grade. 1 Chromebook cart for checkout for the lower grades at this time. So the total number of Chromebooks on the elementary campus is right at 400 Chromebooks for the kids to use. Middle school, we're in the same situation. We have a Chromebook cart for every core classroom, campus-wide, and there's about 330 student Chromebooks on the middle school campus. And then there's a breakdown of the high school, 435 Chromebooks there. So we're in really good shape there too, to make sure those kids have the Chromebooks. You know, the goal is to make sure that we have enough Chromebooks for every single student, you know, in our district, and we're almost there. So we're in extremely good shape. We have about 1,665 at this point. Yes, Tom?
Just a couple of comments, just coming back from TASB. We'll have an opportunity to discuss TASB next month, just FYI. But just a couple of comments that came from TASB. I'm talking to the audience as much as I am the board. These kids that are coming through our process right now are born with technology in their hand. This is not even technology to them. They don't know a world that this didn't exist. This isn't technology to them. It is not fair for us to bring them into an education process that takes that away from them when it's all they've had to use. And it's what they will use eventually. And one of the guys made the comment, it's kind of like, everybody knows that, you know, that the cars exist, but we're using horse and buggy as long as we're here. We're just gonna do horse and buggy because that's what I used when I was growing up, so that's how we're gonna do it. And so much of Texas education still does it that way. They're still using the way we did it when we were in school because that's just the way I learned, and that's the way you're gonna learn too, because that's how we did it here. And so that was a lot of the classes that I went to, and I'm sure you probably heard it too, was reaching out and coming out of the box and finding new ways to educate kids at their level, at their way of thinking, the way they do things. And obviously not every kid learns the same way, and certainly not necessarily the same way as the teacher did when she was in school or he was in school. But it is something that I want to, I mean, you know that I've said this every year, that the technology and what the kids are capable of and what they're exposed to, just to give them the opportunity to be exposed to more technology so that they are able to compete when it comes to the real world. Because I can tell you, in my world that I work in, I don't write hardly nothing on paper. And I use software in various forms of software, just about everything that I do. Anyway.
But, you know, on another note, in getting some of these Chromebooks, you know, we've kind of moved away from the iPads, and we basically sold the iPads so we could purchase more Chromebooks. So that's just part one of this whole thing as far as increasing our technology usage in the classroom. Yes.
Mr. Bryce, you made a comment which I appreciate, that, you know, the goal is to have, you know, a Chromebook for every student in the district. I hope and I feel like I know that beyond achieving that goal, you're not done. mean, at that point, there'll be either, obsolescence of Chromebooks, and now we have to move on to
Oh, definitely.
There'll be a new one or something.
yeah, but I want you to know, at least I feel that this board and this community will support every effort, as Tony said, to make sure our students have the best technology that's going to prepare them for the future challenges that they're going to face in the workforce that we did not have to face.
Exactly. And I appreciate that, and I believe that too, because, that's one thing that Randy and Sean and Daniel certainly look at and plan ahead and those kind of things, because you're exactly right. These things will be obsolete before.
By the time we have one for everybody.
It's a thing like, gosh, we were able to buy a lot of iPads, back when that was the thing to use, but then here comes something bigger.
I carried an iPad for several years until I upgraded to something else.
Yeah, so it's really good. And what's amazing is we're being able to do this within our regular budget, and that's something that Randy and I have talked about quite a bit, because it's extremely hard to do when you're talking about technology. And the hit we took on values this year and all, we're still making strides towards that by being able to use Title I money. That's a big deal. And then, of course, once you have the devices, then there's the part of training, and not only, teaching kids to use it is one thing, but teachers have to utilize this in the classroom. So this part, the next page covers the training that we've looked at so far during the year, and this is simply technology training that we've done. And this started back in the summer. You can see the first day was June 7th. This first one you see is all summer staff development opportunities for our teachers. And all of these that we have listed here took place this summer. Different training for our teachers that they can sign up to take. The second page of that's the optional training descriptions. It kind of gives you a little bit more detail about what some of those topics were in training. Again, you've got, Google Form quiz, Kahoot quizzes and clickers and all of that kind of stuff. And some of y'all at the conference probably heard some things about this, but there's a lot of training that is taking place here in our district with technology usage, and we're glad to have that happen. We're glad to have Daniel on board because he's made a big impact with our teachers. The next page on the technology integration is simply, this was developed, and I think y'all heard Daniel talk about this before, but this was basically developed by Dr. Tony Tipton and Daniel Rich a couple of years ago. And it's just a way to get kids and teachers more involved. And he has done this training for several different school districts in the state. And Randy, you may know more than I do about which districts, but he's presented at conferences also, and so it's a really good platform, and Daniel does a good job with it. But on this, it also goes over some other training staff development that we have had throughout the summer and the start of the school year. Now, the last portion of this, I'm looking at this chart right here. This basically is a calendar of Daniel Rich and the times that he's scheduled to work with teachers or administrators on using technology or different devices in the classroom.
This is a week of his world.
Right. So if you just look through here, you can see all the different times that he is working with classroom teachers. And I won't leave it at that. I mean, administrators too. We all need to have constant development in this area. But that first page, it gives you 1 week, and you can just turn the pages and look at all of the different teachers that he's working with. And that translates into those teachers learning this and then using it in their classroom with their kids. And there's some pretty exciting things going on in the classrooms when it comes to technology. When you look at what some of these teachers were doing just a couple of years ago compared to what they're willing to try and what they're doing now.
That was the part I kind of hoped that we could discuss. I know in the past, we've kind of dug deep in there without naming individual names. But we've had teachers in the past that, simply refuse to use email. So, I would like to see some kind of measurement of how far, where we were at and where we can arrive at,
Yeah,
today. I'm not even sure how you would measure that, but
I'm not either, but we can look at that and see.
yeah, it may just be a general perception that, we may still have a long way to go, which seems like that's always, technology will always be the case, but just to know that our staff is actually finally getting on board.
Buying into the.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a big problem at the beginning. We had a lot of staff that didn't even want to try. Didn't want to post lesson plans online, didn't want to, communication with teachers or with students and parents.
And that's something we can look at, because we can, there again, we can look at percentages of teachers that are utilizing, whether it's a survey or whatever, are utilizing certain technologies in the classroom on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and then finding ways to still reach them. Since we have all those Chromebooks and parts, that how much time in the day are they actually using those,
Well, I will say this, the biggest complaint that I've received was from a teacher that hasn't been able to get their hands on that Chromebook card yet because teacher A has it for 2 weeks and they want it.
Okay, so that's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're wanting to do it, and they just don't have all the tools they need.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, but now we're about there. Randy?
Bryce, we do have a way to measure that, and we have been for the past 2 years.
Oh, yeah, on the surveys.
We do a survey twice a school year. That surveys both the students and the teachers, third grade and above. And basically all the things you're asking, wanted to know, it gathers all that data.
Okay.
It's actually almost too much data.
If you're asking teenagers, have you been able to use technology in the classroom? Is that kind of?
It's so much more in depth.
Obviously,
than that.
I'm just saying,
Yes.
if you're asking the kids.
Yes, and it's along the lines of, how often are you doing this particular skill? How often are you using the device? Do you have access at home? Do you have access in your school? So much more than
So the
that.
data's there, if we just want to look at it.
Yes, there's a ton of data. And of course, it changes each year depending on the turnover as well, but you can look at what we have now and see a steady
Okay, so you
increase.
see a measurable difference.
When is the next time that will be done?
We typically do it right before Christmas break. We'll do a day together, and then we typically do it in May, mid to late May.
So we can look at last May's, we can look at December's.
Mhm. And we can even pull summaries, so there's not too
Sure.
much data.
Yeah.
And what it does is there's so many filters you can do to even look at, this semester compared to last semester, or this school year compared to the last 2 school years. And you can break it down by campus, by district-wide. There's a lot of data you can look at.
You said in December?
Did they pull it again in December? We could very well have some samples brought into the January board meeting if you wanted to have a conversation.
And if you remember, Randy addressed this 2 years ago, I believe it was, at a board meeting, and we certainly can look at that. again. Yeah. So, anyway, a lot of really good things going on. And I know there's not a day where Randy and Daniel and Sean do not have anything to do, so. Okay. Any questions or anything on number 2? Okay, number 3 is it's talking about a yearly update, provide a yearly update concerning facilities and that kind of thing. I know on the 14th of September, I met with the principals to look at the facilities plan and making changes on that. And then on the 21st is when the committee met with the principals. I still need some,
Right,
we need some clarification and consolidation on that. And we can do that as a committee, Tony, if you want to, or before, we bring it to the board, which would probably be good. But basically, looking at the facilities plan that we had prior to and deleting what has been accomplished, such as, help me on it, but the track and of course the schools, one of them, the science labs, those type of things. And then start with the new, and y'all found out, the committee found out that the principals are certainly not short of things that they would like.
Well, Ms. Bass is
that's
short.
good.
I am a little short.
She wanted to make that clear. I'm grateful, but here's my list.
That's true. Yes, I agree with that. But anyway, we will continue to update that, and I think we need,
Well, just to give a little bit of insight to the committee, the three of us met with the principals, and we also had Randy in the room with us too, because when you're talking about security, obviously technology rolls into that. But we had talked about doing some stuff to give principals more vision within the hallways, and something we found out through conversation is that we don't even know when our doors are being staying open at the end of a hallway. But yet, if it happens after 5 or after closing, the alarm company knows we leave a door open, but we don't know if we leave a door open. So trying to put in some controls, put in some way to see when all that's happening. But at the same time, when we were at TASB this weekend, we went and talked to a company that does that for a living and said, we want you to come in and do an analysis, come out and look at our campus and tell us what we can do, give us a small, medium, large, give us some options, what can we do to cause that to happen. And so we've got somebody coming, but we've got a lot of security things that we want to look at. Obviously, softball field was on the long-range goals. There's some other things in place as well. But it's, from the gist of the conversation, security was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of what we need to talk about. So it's on the top of the list.
and part of that, you talking about security was, talking about the emergency readiness plan. That plan is updated. Of course, we did our safety audit already. Safety audit looks at the emergency readiness. Also completed all of our safety drills as needs to be done. So everything there is good, but no, I agree, as far as looking at in the long-range plans or in the facilities plans, it's going to take more than cameras and things like that when you're talking about doors, safety doors, such as they have at the new elementary school. We're talking about doing that with all the other two campuses, which, will be great if we can do that. So anyway, things to look at there. Okay, on number 4, continue developing the Sabina ISD Foundation. Just want to give some updates on that. Tony has been to all the meetings with me on that because he is serving on that board also. And if you'll look at that page, we started the steering committee meeting, which involved all the administrators, back on April the 19th. And then it goes from there to the directors meeting. We had a luncheon on June 6th, organizational meeting later in June, directors meeting on the 7th, and go from there. So anyway, the foundation is fully established now. We finally received our nonprofit 501c3 status from the IRS on September 29th. So it is a full-fledged foundation up and running. What were the funds, right at $30,000 at this point?
At the last meeting, we had 30 grand in the bank.
And at the same time, still taking care of the scholarship, dual credit scholarship for the kids that we had already established in there, that was moved over to the foundation. So anyway, we will have our first big fundraiser. Well, let me back up. High school won the
5 minutes after it started.
They had 100%, like right quick. But we also we're still, they're gonna get the prize, of course, but we're still trying to reach 100% at our other campuses too. So we're not gonna give up on that. And I think we're almost
What was
there.
the prize?
Wear jeans for a week, and they'll do anything for that.
For jeans for a week.
Yeah. That's not, there will be other things.
Hey, when you're a school teacher, those things amount to a lot.
No, they also had door prizes, if they pick their name out once a week for several weeks, that kind of thing for door prizes, so.
Well, I would like to challenge all the board members to try to help make a contribution, at least buy something to be sold in the silent auction.
Is it silent auction or?
No, I'm sorry,
Okay.
live auction, not silent auction, so.
No, I
At the Rock
agree.
in the Foundation?
At the event, there's
Yeah,
going
at
to
the
be
event.
a
There's gonna be a
live
live
auction as well.
Okay.
There'll be various
Like I had
games.
some.
Yeah, there'll be various games being played, various fundraiser type games.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, the teaching staff has reached deep in their pockets, so it wouldn't hurt us to also do the same thing. So-
Yeah, it would be
And I'd like to
good.
see us at 100%.
Yeah, I definitely would. It would, I think we need to, as a board, I really do. And, it's easy to do, easy to do, so just go to that site, and I don't have it with me, but I know I handed it out one other time.
I actually thought they had 36 tables sold, is it only 23?
I don't,
That's confirmed.
Okay.
I think
Well,
there's some
table
we're not
sponsor.
sure there's
There
confirmed.
are a
Money
couple
hasn't
more
been
than that,
given,
but-
you know, it's not-
But just to give you some insight, I know y'all can't see this, but we are setting up 40 tables. Of course, that's 8 to a table, so we'll be able to seat 320 people. When we first started this, we were talking about only having 20 to 25 tables. We have 23 confirmed table sponsors besides the individual tickets we sold. So we had to we keep shoving tables in here because the event grew well beyond what we expected. Again, we really thought we would do 25 tables and that'd be awesome. And we have now 40 tables at the event. So it's live music, lots of games are gonna be played, you're gonna have a dance floor, steak dinner. I mean, it's a night out and we'll be doing this annually, so we'll be a regular event. And after 7 or 8 years, we get bored of it, we'll change it to something else. But as long as it works, this is gonna be the plan anyway.
And the name of it is Rockin' the Foundation. It is October the 14th.
And it's not on this piece of paper, but if you ever see,
Okay, well, I'm gonna call you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to be there, but
there is a logo, and we talked about it, we'll make this known. There's a logo that looks like a cardinal that has a little bandana tied around his head. He's dragging like an electric guitar, and it was inspired by the old Woodstock cartoon, the bird carrying the guitar. And one of our students, Desiree Fleming, drew that for us, one of our art students. So if you see that logo on the Rockin' the Foundation, the little cardinal carrying the guitar, that's Desiree Fleming did that for us. I don't know if that's out there. I haven't heard it anywhere else, but we just want to make sure she got recognition for that.
And there will be an auction there, what else, grab bags that you...
I think there was grab
that
bags,
kind
you
of
could just
thing.
buy them,
Yeah.
straight up buy them.
So anyway, lots of fun, and it is to raise money for the foundation. So that's why we're trying to get our staff to get involved in it, and definitely have, just the staff has raised almost $14,000. So it's really good, and
Daddy, I learned to fold bandanas. They folded those last night, there was, I don't know, 400 or something, I don't know what it was. It got old really quick. Some of them are not perfect, though, I'm gonna tell you. That's probably the ones I.
But there's been a lot of hard work and a lot of time put into this, and it's going to, the place is gonna be out at the, what do you call it? Anyway,
Just the barn.
Farm.
the farm, the Bates Farm. is where it's
I
gonna
think
be.
John calls it Corby Farms, but I just call it farm.
Okay.
We say we're meeting at the farm, or meeting at the barn.
If you can.
It's
if
his
you
big
can make
man
it
cave.
It's Sean's man
It's
cave.
Sean's big man cave.
Well, it's a nice one, so,
That holds 400 people.
yeah.
For the record, I will be at Ole Miss at Parents Weekend,
Yeah.
and I'm very sad. My wife and I both really, really want.
Oh, I have a scout event that I committed to 3 months ago. I just wasn't at the meeting where they did the date, but I committed 3 months ago to a scout event, and then I found out after the fact, oh,
I'm out of paper date. And then,
Well, we're gonna miss you because of your cooking. Not that-
Right, you'll-
we got other good cooks out there. Jeff and Tracy.
But anyway, that foundation is gonna be a remarkable, program for our district, for our teachers especially, and for our kids. So, it's something really good for the district, so.
I was gonna say, he's gonna miss my dancing.
No.
I'll take care of it for you.
As long as
Okay, number 5, continue with the demolition of the old elementary building, prepare for future use. There is a list, a chronological list of events that have happened for the demolition of the school building there on the back page. Just lists all the things that took place throughout the summer in this process, and then where we are now. And as you know, I'll let you know that last Monday, they were there on site putting up the fences and the signage and all of that kind of thing, and are inside the building taking care of some things there. And today was the date that they were to start the demolition. If you go by there, you can tell they've already taken some of the inside out. So it's down on the inside. So, but just to let you know, after our board meeting, met with Bargy 2 different times, finalized the contract, and then the contract reads to where December, they will be completed by December the 15th. So all of that should be taken care of by that date. So as a board, we will start looking at the next step on what we want to do with that. And that will be, of course, discussion and then action by the board on what the next step is to do and when to do it. So, any questions about that one? And then the last one is continue with programs and activities to build school spirit, pride, and community pride by working together with community members and businesses. This is, we talked about a community-wide cleanup that started back, I guess September 14th is when we met, the administrators met. This is going to be something with the high school. We feel more comfortable with the high school students taking part in this instead of elementary, middle school so much, because we are partnering with all the local churches on this. But we met, the administration met on the 14th, and then they in turn met with the principals, Mr. Pepper and Mr. Shaw, met with their student groups and the sponsors, because we're going to get our student groups involved in this, and we want them to take charge and do a lot of the planning of this with the people in the community. So anyway, after that meeting, I sent letters and emails to all of the area churches around here and got a really good response from them. So on September the 3rd, I met with all the local pastors and youth directors here in the boardroom to get them involved in this, because they know what we're looking at is we're looking at more than just picking up trash alongside the road. We're looking at any people in our community that may not be able to go out and rake their yard or cut limbs and things like that and haul off that kind of stuff. So that's what we're looking at. So in working with the pastors and the youth directors, I asked them to get with their congregation and come back. The week of October 30th, we're getting back together to look at the needs of some people that they may know of, so that we can organize our groups to quickly go to these homes and do work that needs to be done, and then other groups doing the trash pickup and thing. But we're going to meet, it's going to be December the 9th on a Saturday morning. We'll meet at 9 o'clock. We will have lunch provided for all of the workers. And I feel like after lunch, there's still going to be work to be done. So after lunch, we'll go back out and complete the work. But we'll have lots of kids. I hope we have a minimum of 60 kids involved. You guys may know better than that if we should expect more or not. But we'll get numbers on that a little bit later. But anyway, the
Hot dogs again?
hot dogs again, and I've not talked to you about
That's a lot of
this
hot
yet.
I'm gonna be very better prepared.
It will be a lot of hot dogs, but we're
She's told
hoping.
me I do it all
I
the
didn't,
time.
I know. I thought it was not gonna be.
But yeah, that's the thing where we're hoping
I've
to
got a
get
system.
all this stuff donated. We're gonna work at that and get the kids involved in it and
I'm
take
gonna
all
pass
that
the
stuff.
hot dog cooking off to Andre, and I'm gonna go help clean up this thing. I think y'all had more fun than I did.
Now, the only thing I've asked about the churches and all, you know, if we're talking tree limbs and chainsaws,
Don't want kids with that.
I want an adult running that chainsaw instead of the kids, because I don't want anything to happen, but kids can certainly, we're gonna need trailers, we're gonna need trucks, all that kind of stuff, so we're gonna get all that organized, but, it's gonna be a pretty big event, so we look forward to it, so. And I will be getting with some of you folks to maybe help us out on some items that y'all may have access to, so. Okay, any more discussion or questions about any of these things at this point? I didn't want to be too lengthy, but I'm going to give you information.
Once a quarter to kind of keep us going on it.
Okay?
Y'all ready to move on?
Okay. Action item 8A. Okay, if you look at in your packet, what was sent to you, basically, what this is tonight on the calendar for the Gregg County Appraisal District, this is if this board wanted to nominate anyone to run for the appraisal board. If you remember, we went through this, was it last year or year before? 2 years ago, that we wanted some changes there, and we were able to do that. We actually now have 2 people on that board that represent our area, and I certainly think chances of getting 3 on there is way too much to ask for. There's one person on that board that is not going to return, and you see there that person is David McWhorter, and for the most part, he's in the Longview district, and I'm sure they will have a replacement there. But if there is anyone that wanted to put someone on the ballot,
What was our timeline?
I think the 15th.
So we won't have, see, that was my problem, so I made.
There's not another meeting for that.
Right, I didn't have enough time. I made one phone call and needed to make another one, so.
Is there somebody else to nominate?
The problem is I do, but I didn't get to talk to them, and her husband was sitting in the audience, so they may kill me, but I thought Linda Shawn should be.
Yeah.
And I thought she might have enough pull at home, so.
It's like, no.
Well, never mind, her husband said no. I just know
If that is something,
she is
then
very qualified.
we could reconvene, if you could talk her into it.
Okay.
You
Him or
know,
her?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, I thought she might have enough pull in Longview to pull some of those votes.
She has enough contacts.
And that's a good point.
So it was somebody that I thought was balanced.
I have no idea what the city of Longview, what
Well, they have enough votes to
They got a
decide.
third of the vote, just
I know.
ISD.
ISD and the city.
Right.
So, anyway.
They got
But if that is-
47% of the votes just in the city and.
Don't you imagine? You can-
James, he's not gonna put that down.
Her husband said no. And she's gonna say she wanted. Yeah.
Well, hey, if you can do that, let me know if we need to call another
I
meeting.
guess we'll probably find out tonight.
Because that, yeah,
I guess.
and we can make some calls to some of these others to see what their plans are too.
Okay.
But the actual voting on this is not until the November board meeting.
It's just nominations.
Correct. Correct. So if that is something that's going to take place, we would still have time to reconvene and do that. I just need to, you need to let me know.
If there's no nomination, there's no action required, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, so 8B.
Okay, all of you have the campus plans, had the opportunity to look at it, look at all of them. And a lot of the technology stuff that we went over tonight is in the campus plans. But the administration on each campus and their staff put those campus plans together, and I know that what they included in there are some additions from what they had previously and some changes, and they indicated that to make it a little easier for you to go through that. So I guess at this time, if you have any questions or anything, we can go ahead and ask questions about it. Or if there's anything that a principal wishes to highlight to the board, feel free to do that. You know, I know we don't want to sit here and go through it all since they've had the
Yeah,
opportunity.
we're not reading them, so. Okay.
A lot of things you've heard from Mr. Bryce, something talked about. The campus plan is a document that changes throughout the year. So what you see there may be changed before the end of the year. And some of these things that I'm going to mention are exactly what we found out during the school year that we wanted to do this year. So the first thing is and these are things that I highlighted that I thought were important for you to know. We improved our new teacher orientation, giving more time to our technology to go over Google Chrome. We had DMAC, and we also spent time with the grading system that we have. That's one of the things that the new teachers come in, and they're used to another grading system, so we wanted to make sure they knew our grading system before school started. And I think it was very successful. We targeted our EOC scores. We're not happy where we are in English, so I put in to go to other schools that have been highly successful. Union Grove was one that had some of the highest scores in the state, so I set up a meeting with them, and we have already had that meeting. We wanted to get as early as we could, so we spent a day over at Union Grove 2 weeks ago and going over some of the information strategies that they used, hopefully to implement with our English teachers, especially in English 1 and English 2 that are given the EOC.
Coach Young, who's the principal at Union Grove?
Why did you ask me?
Isn't it our old elementary teacher?
It is a lady, but I'm not for sure.
Helen Moore?
Miss Moore is the high school principal at Union Grove.
Is she?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Well,
She was Tyler's kindergarten teacher.
Yeah.
She went at Higgins.
I didn't see her in my time here.
In fact, I don't know if you remember or not, but the lady that we went to see used to live in our district, taught in my old classroom, taught English 2 years ago, and her husband worked for A&M out at the farm out there, so she went to Overton, but she was the teacher that we went to visit with, and Marcia Kirby was her name. I don't know, somebody may remember, but she was very, very helpful with our teachers. Okay, Mr. Price mentioned this, continue to add Chromebooks. We used Title I money this year from the high school to do that. Also, the library, we have those computers, our kids are using those. We wanted to make sure that if there was a request at any time that we would have the library open for them on after school or maybe even on some select Saturdays. This is something that Mr. Pepper has already utilized. It's staff support team to review ways we can help students in crisis. We have a student that definitely fits that need, and I want to thank him and Ms. White. They have really been helpful to keep that kid able to come to school. And he was one that was brought to school by a neighbor. 3 days into the school, he went down, walked down to the neighbor's house and asked if she would bring him to school so he could enroll because his mother would not even take him, would not even wake him up in the morning. So, but anyway, it's something good, and I really do appreciate the work that Coach Pepper has already done, and we will use that throughout the school year. And this young man will graduate this year. Our AP, we're considering adding AP Biology and AP Chemistry for next year, updating the AP textbooks for English 3, which we've already done. We found out that our English 3 AP books were a little bit outdated, so we have new textbooks in there. I think that would be a greater help for them when they test. And we also added some higher level books for pre-AP English 1 and English 2. That leads to the next one. We're looking for a 10% increase in AP students scoring a 3 or higher on the AP exam for their respective courses. We jumped about 300% last year from what we were the year before. And Mr. Raymond pointed it out to me, and we did some changing, and last year we had 12 kids out of our AP classes that did score a 3 or higher. Some even had 4. So a great deal during the AP exam testing. Mentioned technology specialist. Daniel has really been great in setting up with our teachers and incorporating technology in the classroom. That will continue to happen from now on. And I will say, and Mr. Pepper mentioned this to me a while ago, all of our teachers have bought into sending lesson plans by technology, which is great for us and great for them. So they're buying in. So that was 100% from our teachers. Investigate and apply grants that will provide additional monies to the campus. And one of those is also the Educational Foundation, where the teachers can apply for grants. Coordinate with Kilgore College and researching the offering of medical and nursing classes on the campus. We were with maternal last year. We, for some reason, didn't have as many as we anticipated. When we changed to Kilgore College, we quadrupled the number that we have. So we feel like all of the hospitals, the medical needs in the communities around here, that's one of the things that we need to target in the future. And I'm very, very happy that we have the number right now that have shown an interest in that, and I think will only increase. We also want to investigate the pharmacy tech certification program. He mentioned the cleanup day in the community that's sponsored by the student council, but we want all of our clubs and organizations to be a part of that. We're hoping that the girls will get a new softball field down at the old elementary campus. And then one of the things that when it's raining, our life skills that are in wheelchair or have other disabilities, they have to come out and there's a little area there that they have to go through the weather. We'd like to have some type of awning there to protect them.
Right there?
Yes, right now. Okay. But that's the major things that we had as far as I felt like we changed in this year's campus plan.
Thank Thank you, Coach. Anybody else? Mr. Reed, Ms. Patton?
I'm going to highlight a few of the major changes that I have had this year, which is with our unit test that we do through DMAC. I want our teachers to break down each unit test by TEKS, and so I created a form for them to use where they're going to break it down by each individual TEK that is on that test, so we don't just look at overall scores, but each individual projected and how they're doing on that. So teachers are required to reteach and retest anything that's below a certain standard for that. We also are adding mandatory STAR tutorials during our GTE and activity periods. They're doing it a little bit right now, but kind of second semester we'll hit that with some organization, kind of group kids and put them in different areas to work on some of their weaknesses so that we can help to improve those kids in that area. We've also added in all the areas on there, technology integration in the classroom, which our teachers are buying into and they're utilizing. We've got 2 Chromebooks currently that we've been using for checkout, and those things stay checked out all the time. Teachers can't get to them, as well as classrooms that already had them in there. And the goal with that is to go more student-centered with our activities, which is what T-Test is asking us to do with our teachers. And then we've also added in we're adding in this year an AR incentive, trying to get our kids to read, but give them positive reasons why to read. And so each semester we're going to do an incentive on meeting with those students that meet the semester goal that we have set for them, just trying to challenge them to read, because we know that if these kids are reading, they're going to improve in all their areas. And so we're really making an emphasis on reading this year. If you have any questions, I can answer those. But those are my main things that I changed this year, and kind of some minor tweaks to some of the other areas that we've been working on.
Well, there's a lot more changes there than what you described. I don't mean in the plan itself, I just mean on the campus.
Yes,
And it's a positive, so we're glad to see those changes. Ms. Bass?
Okay, we added several new programs, and of course, programs aren't designed to take away good teaching. It's to possibly bridge some gaps. We added a new program called MobiMax, and it gives a little pre-assessment, and then it bases the level of the child in reading, math, science, social studies. It has just loads of activities and things that they can do on their level, and then they build skills. So you may have a 3rd grader that needs to brush up on a kindergarten skill, actually, and so they just start building up from there. And so we're seeing some good strides and some real good things with that program. I also was very blessed to bring back Tina Baker. I don't know if y'all know Tina Baker, but years ago her husband was our AD, Jerry Baker, and Tina, I hired her with some title money to do some tutorials.
It's a tutorial.
I know, wasn't an added position or anything.
No,
Wasn't an added
that's
position.
one of those.
So it's tutorial, so it was a,
tutorial that's
Right.
used
So we got an extremely expensive teacher for a little bit of nothing.
that's right, that's right.
So
So,
we do that every year at each campus, is use our Title I money to hire tutorials.
Right.
To do tutorials.
She's very good.
we usually start those in January, but we're bringing her in about 3 days a week, and so she's doing some math and some science, and she just, just taking on, and she is a person that our teachers already trust, and so they can go to her and say, "Hey, I need help with this." So she's doing a little coaching, which is a really good thing for my campus. We all added Chromebook cards, and y'all said I had 400. Well, I have roughly 703 children, and so I teamed up a big with a little. And so our every kindergarten teacher, kindergarten class, first grade class, and 2nd grade class is teamed up with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And so they're doing some activities. So they'll invite their littles to come join the bigs, and they'll do some things on Chromebooks. And so it's real neat stuff going on, and the kids are so excited how to utilize them. Just because they don't have a device in their hand right now, they still get the advantage of getting to see some activities and some research and getting to work with the older kids. So we're really excited about that. It's really, really doing some good. Paul, you were asking about some of our teachers that might not have wanted to touch technology. I can tell you firsthand, some of the older ones that want, they're on it. They love Daniel Rich. He's coming in, he is showing them how to do it. He's modeling, he's working with the kids. They have a vision of what to do. They just don't know how to put it into technology, and he's just a
It's
bad
being able
job.
to execute and be able to
Yes.
integrate the technology into the lesson plan they've already got
Sure,
established.
they have a vision, they just
Yeah.
don't know how to make it work into that Chromebook, so, we're excited about that. One little, thing that I did change is we're not doing DARE this year. It wasn't, as effective. So we're doing some things with pushing out some lessons in Chromebook, and counselors are picking up some Character Ed, so we've, replaced that this year. Hopefully we'll get it back, and maybe it'll be a new, improved, DARE program, but, it was just kind of where I was welcome for a little bit. So we're just kind of trying some different things this year.
So are you
with DARE.
substituting an alternative program?
Yes, we're doing some Character Ed and then picking out some lessons on Chromebook based on, some things that would replace there. And that's about all mine. You got any
Okay.
questions? Thank you.
I was just gonna say that there's some inspiration that goes on that kind of snowballs. So Sunny inspired with her redoing cafeteria, inspired maybe a middle school principal to want to try to improve on some of his stuff. Now, he doesn't have the funds right now, but we talked about the Education Foundation, might be able to buy him some paint. And then Coach Sean said, well, hey, maybe my kids can come over and help paint, because our middle school principal was talking about taking his time off at Thanksgiving and Christmas and repainting some areas for his staff to make them feel better. But, so it sounds like we're all working together, and Sonny's all doing that deal over there, got inspired. But it's pretty amazing what you did over there.
It is
I mean,
really,
so,
it really is.
but it all of it kind of goes together, from the Education Foundation, you see the purpose in that, and the community service stuff, so.
Well, I know y'all already see, the attitude is amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
It really is, and all of this plays into it, all of it.
Right, it
So,
all kind of-
it's all good. And Sunny, by the way, was one of our employees of the month.
All right.
Two others I'll mention, Sarah Cantrell, and who was our other one?
Lori Kitchen.
Yes, Lori Kitchen, one of our new teachers, so she's doing a great job with them, so,
Do you need to make a recommendation for the campus plan?
I'll recommend that the board approve the 2017-18 campus plan.
The motion? Pickle, second? Paul, any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Get a motion for adjourn? Paul, second. Patty, all in favor? Thank you, folks.